of this ever-changing world.
On this week's episode, Allie and Regan share their highs and lows for the week, what they would use if they were stranded on a remote island, and the work culture in the United States. Welcome to the Wanderlusting Wives podcast. We are your navigators, Allison
And Regan. And today is Wildcard Wednesday, so we've got another just like relaxing, well, maybe I can't promise anything before we know what all the topics are, but we've got a conversation, hopefully a thought-provoking conversation, an honest conversation, some explorative conversation, hopefully. But before we get rolling on that, just as always, a quick plug for our not-so-new website, which you can find at www.wanderlustingwives.com, and you can find more about us, easy links to all of our episodes, and go ahead and sign up for our newsletter. And if you want to come on our Travel Tuesday episodes where we talk about travel, maybe some travel destinations, or just sharing stories about travel, please reach out to us. We would love to have you as a guest and hear your stories. Allie, anything on your end?
Yes, the usual. Social media, so Instagram at Wanderlusting Wives, Facebook Wanderlusting Wives Podcast, Twitter at Wanderlust Wives, and you're always welcome to email us at wanderlustingwives@gmail.com. Also, I'm going to switch up my plug a little bit here and say, if you've been enjoying this podcast, you should leave us a review or some 5 stars. We would love to hear your feedback. And if you're enjoying this, share it with a friend to get the word out there about how awesome our podcast is. We love hearing from all of you, and maybe one of your friends will want to be on the podcast. So share the wealth. Don't keep us a secret. Give us a review. We would love that.
I love that. Don't keep us a secret. I find it so fun when I'm in random conversations with friends and they're like, oh my gosh, I heard that on your podcast. I'm like, wait, you know more about my life than I do. It's just funny to hear when people are really excited about our podcast, and that just fills us with so much pride and happiness and joy. Reach out to us, and we'd love to hear from you, and we love your reviews too. So we're going to get right on going here with our escape segment, and we got our wheel ready and rolling. So let's see what we are going to talk about today. And it is, oh gosh, okay. So here's a fun, maybe it's more of a travel game. Allie, I don't know if you ever played this as a kid or as an icebreaker or anything like that. But let's just picture that we're going to a remote island, okay? A remote island is just you. What are 3 items that you bring with yourself? And I think maybe we should talk about some rules first of are we talking survival? Are we talking enjoyment? What kind of what is the purpose? Are we being taken there but we are willingly going there for a restful vacation, just ourselves? Or is this a hostage situation where we're just being dumped on an island against our will? What should we go with?
Ooh. Well, an all-inclusive remote island sounds really fun, but also I kind of like the challenge of survival. What are 3 good survival materials or things that I might need?
Okay, let's go with survival. All right. If you're ready, go ahead. I'll keep thinking while you're talking.
I think I'm ready, and don't judge me. I'm not a wilderness expert. I'm not Bear Grylls, so these might be terrible choices, but this is just me trying to survive based off my brother enjoying the wilderness, watching Bear Grylls, and occasionally camping. So that's my knowledge for you, okay?
We're in good company with each other then.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. So I think I definitely want some kind of knife machete kind of situation. I'm going to hate that I'm going to have to kill an animal to survive, but you got to do what you got to do. Or maybe we'll think of something nicer. Maybe I have to cut open a coconut. Okay, that sounds better.
Yeah.
So I'm going to need something sharp. And I'm also going to need something to start a fire, because there is no way I'm going to be able to rub some sticks together and get a spark going. So give me something to start a fire, matches, I don't know, anything. And then I'm really debating between a rope or a tarp. I'm thinking I'm going to go with a tarp, so I at least have something to throw over top of myself. A rope would be nice, but Not necessary. I feel like you could maybe find some grass or weeds or I don't know, some kind of bark that you could make kind of rope-like for if I need to do something with rope. I don't know why I'm stuck on a rope, but I think I'm gonna go with a machete or a knife of some sort, matches or something to start a fire, and then a tarp.
Okay, you thought that through, and you thought it through very quickly. I'm like really impressed by this. And I'm gonna just say, based on how our conversations have gone in our past few episodes of like us talking about camping and how it's gone very differently for the two of us, I'm not surprised that your answer was very well thought through. And my mind goes to things like, oh, well, it would be really great to have like a deck of cards. Like, what? That's not helpful. You could light them on fire and they would burn for like 2 minutes, and that's about it. All you could do with the
But
cards.
you wouldn't be bored. I might be bored. I don't have a deck of cards. You might beat me. If you have some cards, you can play a lot of solitaire.
Lots of solitaire. And you know what? Actually, I think I'd rather take boredom, like just straight up boredom, honestly. Like I want my nail polish. I want like things to do. Okay, so if we're talking survival, okay, so I think like some sort of, yeah, you said like a knife or machete, something like that. I think like a multi-tool, like something that also maybe has like, I don't know why you'd need a corkscrew, but if you found like a message in a bottle floated up on shore or something and you need to get it open, or if it's a bottle of wine that somehow didn't sink to the bottom of the ocean, like who knows what you'd need that for. But also in a multi-tool, I think there's like scissors, there's a knife, there's like some other stuff. I feel like that's helpful somehow, like a Swiss Army knife sort of situation. We'll go with that. That sounds practical, more practical than nail polish. So we're on the right track.
That's good. I wanted to bring a random rope, so I'm all for whatever you want to bring.
I feel like that would be great. Like you could use the rope as leverage to like pull down trees, to like then use your knife to like do something to like make a shelter. I don't know. And then the tarp over the trees. I'm seeing this for you, Allie. I think you're on the right track. Okay, so we got our multi-tool and we've got, okay, I really do think that I would need some sort of source of light. So because I would probably die of fear from the darkness. And I mean, I guess you could count moonlight, but the moon isn't always out. So I think some sort of lantern that's like maybe a solar powered lantern, because an island is probably going to be pretty sunny most of the time. Like if we're talking like a warm island. So solar powered lantern, multi-tool, and I don't know. I think it's safe to say that I'm probably going to not survive this island thing. Man, a third thing. Yeah, it's probably got to be some sort of shelter. So, and we probably don't need some sort of blanket because it's going to be warm. Hopefully that's where we're going, like an island. Oh, man, I'm really bad at this. A book. This is where my mind is going. I don't even know.
We could do something for fishing. We could do something to boil some water in so you can drink the water. Or boil something to make food.
Yeah. Maybe like a percolator. No. that ain't
Just
it.
bring a pot or something. Or a pan. I don't know. Or your nail polish. Whatever makes you happy.
You know what? Yeah, I am. I'm bringing my nail polish. Because you know what? Chances are I'm not surviving this anyways, so might as well go out in style. That's what I'm saying.
There you go. Okay? You and your deck of cards and your nail polish are going out in style. You're not going to be bored.
No, not at all. It'll be great. Let's not do this in real life.
Yeah, let's hope, because as much as I sound like I know what I need, I could not survive.
That would be so tough. I don't know how the people in like the TV shows where they're I saw one recently that was like Naked and Alone or Naked and Afraid or something like that. And I'm just like, what's the point?
No, thank you. Yeah. I don't know what is out there. I don't want that crawling on my clothed body, let alone my naked body. Yeah. I'm going to have to sit that one out. Me and my rope and my tarp will be somewhere else.
Oh, well, let's hope that if we are sent to an island by ourselves, that it's the all-inclusive island and not the survival island.
Yeah, that's my kind of island. Sign me up for the all-inclusive.
Yes. Which kind of leads me to our Inspire segment where we'll do our highs and our lows. And I know we both have some vacations coming up here, so that might play into this. But Allie, you want to get us started with your highs and lows from this week?
And now a quick word from our sponsor. Newsly is an all-in-one audio super app for iOS and Android. It picks up the most trending articles on the web on topics you choose at any given moment and reads them to you in a natural human voice. The entire web becomes listenable for the first time, all in one place. Browse articles from topics you choose and start playing. Stop scrolling and start listening. You can follow any topic as specific as you like, from sports, tech, business, science, Bitcoin, or even the Kardashians. It will find you the latest articles and read them to you aloud. And the best part, they have podcasts. Explore trending podcasts from over 80 countries. You can even find us there. I started using it as my default podcast app. They even have a digital radio. Download and use Newsly for free now at www.newsly.me or from the link in the description, and use promo code WIVES. That's WIVES. And you can get a 1-month free premium subscription. You can find all this information in our description from this episode. And now back to our episode.
Yeah, so I was going to save my vacation for my high when I come back, so I won't spoil that, but I am going on vacation next week, so that is definitely a high. I'll spill the tea when I come back. But the high that I originally had was, it was just recently Mother's Day, and I got to see my mom and dad this past weekend, so it was really nice to see them. We took them to a crepe place, and my mom loves crepes, so that was exciting. She was so funny. Mom, listening to this episode right now, I just have to share, you are hilarious at the creperie. She just saw the menu. She's like, oh my gosh, oh, these are so good. I don't know what to pick. I can't even look over here at this side of the menu. She was just so overwhelmed.
That's so cute.
Yeah, it was cute. So shout out to you, Mom. I know you're listening to this. You can text me after you listen to this segment. So yeah, that was the high, just being able to see my parents for Mother's Day weekend and then taking my mom to the creperie nearby and just seeing her. Love that. And then my low has just been these past couple days I've had to help with state testing, and it's been exhausting. I've been traveling 3 hours round trip for 3 straight days, and I'm used to working from home, and it's just a lot. I know it's not much when I'm actually there. I just have to like monitor students, make sure they're not cheating, but it's a lot to be on my feet all day and then have to drive 3 hours round trip and still do some work when I get home, because I'm usually home by like 2:30ish. So I still have like an hour and a half left of my work day, and I'm expected to still work. So it's been a lot, but since I do have vacation next week, I am like having something to look forward to. So it's helping that long days go by a little bit faster.
Yeah, having those vacations planned out, or even just like you're going to, like, you plan a reservation for a dinner a couple weeks out or something, like having those things to look forward to is so important. And I'm so excited for your trip. I can't wait for everyone to hear about it. It'll be awesome.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah. Oh, that's such a long drive, and I have to do it. I don't know how people do it consistently. That's like, oh my gosh.
I don't know. I did that. So I graduated with my undergrad in 2020. Yay. But in case you're a new listener here, I'm a teacher, and I did my student teaching starting in January, and it ended, of course, in early March. Well, I was commuting about an hour and 15 minutes, so like 3 hours again, round trip, and I was driving into Pittsburgh and out of Pittsburgh like during rush hour. So to me, it's like, only 3 days is not as bad as going every day for, I think I ended up student teaching for like roughly 8 weeks before the pandemic happened. So it's like, this isn't so bad. 3 days, I can do that. But it is exhausting.
Yeah. Especially when you're not used to driving that much. That's like, driving, honestly, it's one of those things that can be really zen. So, like, sometimes you forget that you're behind the wheel of a moving vehicle, and it's just like, oh, wait, like, somehow you get to your destination safely, but, like, you're like, I definitely zoned out for most of that.
It's like, wait, how did I get here?
Yeah, it's such a – and actually, Nolan was telling me recently that, like, Nolan, you all got to meet him on the podcast, and I'm so excited about it. That was so fun. But he was telling me not so recently, but at some point that that's like an actual thing that people have studied, that like you can zone out while you're driving and somehow you make it to your destination safely. And that's like, I don't know, but there's studies being done on it, which is really kind of freaky, but I don't know.
Yeah, that's terrifying. Gosh.
Yeah. So I don't know. Yeah, my low is kind of similar. I am just starting to feel a little more rested. I was exhausted. I went to New York City for work last week, and we had our gala, our annual Founders Gala, which was really exciting. We raised about $800,000, so yay us. It was really exciting.
Whoa.
Yeah. We had it at Tavern on the Green in Central Park, so it was really fancy, and it was just really a beautiful evening, but like I was involuntarily crying for so much of last weekend because I was just so tired. I am starting to feel more rested, but like I would really love to feel more rested. So I'm in the exhaustion boat with you on my low. My high is that I am also looking forward to vacation. It's really exciting, like that feeling of anticipation of like even up to like getting to the airport and everything. It's just all really exciting. So I'm really loving the whole like preparing for vacation thing. We're going down to Florida with some kind of mix of a vacation, which I'll tell you all about when we get back also. It'll be a big reveal a couple weeks from now. We'll tell all about our vacation.
I like that.
But yeah, the anticipation is just really fun, but we still have like so much fun this week ahead of that too, which just makes it even more exciting. I'm going to see Six, the musical, tomorrow night, which I'm really excited about. Nolan got me tickets for Christmas, and it's finally here, and I am so excited. I've been obsessed with the music since it came out. Yeah, so, and the weather's just been beautiful recently, so that always helps with literally everything. So lots of good stuff happening.
So true.
Yeah.
Yeah, the weather. It's like my best friend this time of year. It's just so nice and motivating.
Yeah. It's I don't know how your dogs do with it, but it's so funny. Remy is such a cold weather dog. He loves the snow. Like he's super great in the snow. He loves the cool weather. But like it was, I want to say like maybe 72 yesterday. So not like super hot, like not as hot as it's gonna get for sure. But we went outside and we were throwing the ball around, and he lasted about like 8 to 10 minutes, and I was like, wow, you have become a little bit of a lazy dog. But it was just really funny. He's like, his tongue is hanging out the side of his mouth so far. Like it's really funny as we all sort of have to adjust back to the warmer weather too, of like how our bodies adjust and adapt, and being outside, even breathing is different now that there are so many allergens in the air.
Yeah, my dogs are they are completely opposite. They live for finding the sunspots in the house, and then, well, you've been to the house, obviously, so you know what the deck is like, but they love to just, like, plop themselves on the deck and just lay there, nap there. They live for ice cubes, so they love this time of year because that means more ice cubes. And then I recently just got them a little sprinkler because I'm extra and I don't have kids, so my dogs are kind of like my kids right now.
Yes.
And I'm going to be home all summer with them, so I can benefit from it as well. But Kira, not so fond of it. Marley, obsessed. Like, I have to kind of fight her to turn the water off because she just wants to keep going at it. But it's really fun, and they're loving the sun. And I'm surprised that Marley enjoys it so much because she is a black dog, so I was worried that she would overheat fairly quickly. But she can find the shade in the yard and hang out for a while, so she's really enjoying it, and so is Kira, and so am I. So it's going to be a great summer.
Win-win-win. Yay.
Exactly.
I love the pups. They need to get together again soon. Remy clearly needs some exercise. Oh, gosh. All right. Well, headed right along to our Discover segment. And today we are actually not referencing an article, but rather we are referencing a podcast that Nolan shared with me. And it's really interesting. It's something that we kind of, it's a little bit parallel to a conversation that's happening in the United States when it comes to jobs. And the title of the podcast, and actually there is a transcription on it on USA Today, but so it's Is There a Good Enough Job? On 5 Things podcast. And they have a guest come on, Simone Stolzoff, who is an author of this book. And essentially the book is exploring, like, does your job have to be the be all end all of, like, we hold our jobs to such high standards and we hold them so closely to our identity. It's like the thing that we identify ourselves with first. And, like, is that healthy? Does that mean that we are pushing away other parts of ourselves that would make us feel more fulfilled in the long run? Like, does it exist where there's, like, a good enough job where we feel like our job does the trick? And by does the trick, like, this author is exploring, does the job pay you enough so that you can support your family, rather? Does the job support your lifestyle outside of work? Does the job give you a schedule that you want? Like, there are things that you can have in a job that don't necessarily need to be aligned with your dream job. And if you have a dream job, like Allie, I know you love your job, and that's, like, amazing. I love that for you. I sound like Alexis from Schitt's Creek. I love that for you.
David, no.
David. Oh,
That's the next episode with your parents. Anyways, off topic.
But it's just like, does that good enough job exist? And that's something that I've really been exploring in my life of, like, I went to school for musical theater, but now I'm in communications and I'm like, well, I don't really know where I fit in the job world, like where in the career world. And honestly, like, I like my job. I love my colleagues. I love my company. But it's like, at the same time, I love that my job allows me the flexibility to travel. I love that it allows me an 8 to 4 schedule so that I can have a life outside of my job. But I know that it's something that a lot of people struggle with, and it's a very uniquely American problem. And I won't necessarily say that, but it's concentrated in America where we just put our jobs first. And, like, are there other ways that we can identify ourselves outside of our job? Because our job can just be good enough. It can just be part of who we are and what we are. So I just found this podcast really, really interesting, and I really want to read the book. So yeah, that's where we are going today with our Discover segment.
Yeah, I love this, and I'm gonna have to check out the whole podcast episode to just note bits and pieces of it. But it's really interesting to think about, because even just traveling, I've realized how much of, like, this country is just filled with workaholics, and we don't really separate our work and life as much as we should. Like, people in other countries take, like, 2 hours to have lunch or something and go home with their families. Like, we don't have that. I guess our values are much different, and just the way society is as well. And I'm not saying that that's right. I don't think it is. I think we have a lot to change, but that's just, like, the hustle mentality. Like, if you're not working hard, like, you're going to be left behind. And to an extent, yeah, sure. Like, if you're just going to sit at home and do nothing, yeah, you're not going to make it far, I'm sure. So you need to work hard to an extent. But to the fact that, like, people our age are starting to get burned out over their jobs, and it's just, is it worth it? In my opinion, no. And coming from someone who loves their job, I get burned out too. And I'm like, how many more years till retirement? I'm ready to just do what I want to do on my own schedule. And I even have summers off. So I feel like I don't really have a lot of room to, like, complain, I guess. But it's interesting how much our work is our life. And when you were talking, I was trying to think, what are some words, if someone asked me to describe myself, what are some words that I would say that don't involve being a wife or being a teacher? And I really had to think about that. I'm like, man, that's so sad. Like, I know as a kid, I could easily come up with those words because I didn't have a job. I wasn't a wife. I was just a daughter, a friend, a sister, whatever. And I could say, oh, I'm nice, I'm kind, I'm hardworking, I'm, an introvert. But those aren't like the first things that people ask you. Like if you're meeting someone for the first time, hi, how are you? What do you do for a living? It's like, why? Why do we start with that? Or in this society, we have so much small talk too. If you notice, a lot of conversations like about the weather, about your job, it's not really getting to know people. It's very surface level.
Yeah. Oh, that's such a great point. Small talk. I hate small talk. It's like, and I definitely feel that at a very deep level of like, I don't know how to strike the balance, because that's just how we've kind of been conditioned in our society, is like, I really don't want to engage in small talk. And also the silence makes me really uncomfortable. It's like, how have we gone through all of this education, this really brilliant education that like we have really great standards and like we have great teachers and great resources. And I mean, that's not equitable. Not everybody has those, but like we were fortunate enough to have that growing up. And parents who taught us so much. And then we get into college, we get into the real world, quote unquote. And suddenly we're thrust into this place where it's like, well, no, we don't have conversations anymore about what's your favorite color. And like, that's a joke that we say that as a joke of like, when you're getting to know somebody, what's your favorite color? But the deeper meaning behind that is like, no, that was like a big deal when you were in kindergarten. It's like, oh, you like pink too? We're going to be best friends. So like, you make an excellent point of like, we should be actively thinking of ways, like when we are going into conversations, and like, I'm also very much an introvert outside of work, I am required to be an extrovert. But like, what are we thinking about? Like the next time I go into a conversation like that, can I be prepared with a few different questions that aren't, what do you do for work? How's the weather where you are? Things like that. Like, what else can I ask? Like, oh, do you have kids? Do you have any pets? Like, where did you grow up? Like, I don't know, any of these other things of just like getting to know someone on a deeper level. I think you bring up an excellent point with that really parallels this wider conversation that this podcast is bringing up.
Mm-hmm. And I think something that I get to see at my job, because I teach second graders, so they're like 7, 8 years old, is that they ask really great questions. They may ask a million questions, so it's kind of like, oh my gosh, one more question. But I think we could learn a lot from younger kids. They're so curious and they have great questions, and they ask kind of deep thinking questions as well. It's not as surface level as like, hey, what did you do this weekend? Like, yeah, of course they're going to ask those kind of questions, but they might follow that up with why or how. And they challenge me sometimes. There are times when I'm like, I actually don't know the answer. So guess what? I need to look it up. But at least they're like asking those questions. It's not just like answering a question and then moving on. They want to know more. And I think that's something that we can do in our work life to get to know our colleagues more. I think a lot of, after the pandemic and even the influence of social media and technology, has made things more surface level as well. It's so easy to sit behind your laptop and send a Teams message and not get to know your colleague, or send a text message after work or whatever. And I think we could learn a lot from kids and their questioning. Instead of being annoyed by their questions, like take a minute and just listen. And take what you've listened and apply that to your adult life. I know as adults, we maybe don't have enough time to have a deep conversation with everyone we meet. That's fine. Guess what? I don't want to have a deep conversation every time I'm talking to someone. I'm not a super extroverted person. I don't open up right away if I don't know you. So I'm not saying go and like prod at people the next time you have a conversation, but just take some time to like get to know people and don't be so closed off. It's okay if you want to be, that's your personality, but I think, creating a better work-life balance might come from getting to know your colleagues better, or taking some time to just be people and not just these robots that are at work and then go home and see each other again in the morning being miserable because we just worked our butts off or worked outside of work hours. I know I was talking to a colleague today. She woke up at 3 a.m. and the first thing on her mind was work. And I said, the first thing on my mind at 3 a.m. is, I have to go to work, not let me get started with work. And I love my job, but I don't want to think about work from the moment I wake up to the moment I go to bed. And I think that's kind of what a lot of people deal with, not just in the United States, but I think a lot more in the United States, because we don't have necessarily that hard cutoff of, hey, it's 4, 5, 6 p.m., shut off your phone. You don't have Teams or email or whatever your company uses to communicate, because a lot of employers expect you to have your email or Teams or whatever you're using on your phone, and you better answer them whether it's 8 p.m. or 6 a.m. And I think that's really messed up, but that's how our culture is to an extent. Not everyone, but I think a lot of people deal with that.
Yeah, when did we stop being curious? I look at my nieces and nephews, and it's like the questions that they ask blow my mind. Like the things that they're exploring, the things that they're interested in, the things that they're not interested in. Like they're not interested in status and government and power. Like, yeah. This is why we need people like you pouring into the future generations. And we need to treat those people pouring into the future generations nicely, which is a big problem.
You're going to get me started on that tangent.
Oh, okay. We'll save that for another time.
Yeah, but, put that on the wheel.
Yeah, okay. We'll do. Yeah, this is a really important conversation, and I'm really glad that we had a chance to kind of debrief about it, because we are at very different places in terms of our relationships to our jobs. And it's just like, you can like your job, you can love your job, but that doesn't mean your job has to be everything to you. And so it's like, yeah, this is a really important conversation. And I feel like our conversation around the conversation was really great. So
yeah, I was like, oh man, what am I going to say with this article? But I actually really love this conversation, and I hope our listeners enjoyed it as well. And, I hope you feel inspired to create more of a balance in your life. Take time for yourself, because life is way too short to be working your butt off and being stressed outside of work. Take time for yourself. You are the most important person in your life. So take that time for yourself. Take your personal days. Do what you got to do to have a healthy balance with your job. Whether you love it, your job, or hate your job, everyone needs some time away from their job and to create their own identity.
Definitely. So well said. Awesome. Well, we hope you enjoyed this episode. Chime in on the conversation with us. It sounds like we could keep talking for hours. So if you want to hear more or keep talking, reach out to us. And until then, we will catch you next time.
Thanks for tuning in to the Wanderlusting Wives podcast. Come escape with us again every other Tuesday for Travel Tuesdays and every other Wednesday for Wildcard Wednesdays.
Don't forget to give us a subscribe and a follow on all of our social media and wherever you listen to your podcasts. And until next time, wander on.